Public colleges like the University of Texas could soon be required to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion offices. Per UT's website, its so-called DEI office works to provide the best education possible for students, especially those who have been historically marginalized.
There's been a long history of racism and sexism and discrimination in Texas. The work that universities have been doing to change that has really helped recruit a more diverse and more talented group of students and faculty.
David DeMatthews is an associate professor of education policy at UT Austin. He said eliminating DEI offices is problematic because diversity is necessary to have a world-class teaching and research institution. And without them, Texas could lose out on great professors who choose to go elsewhere.
It feels like it's just a political attack. It feels like it's just policymakers trying to score points for their own benefit.
The House version of the bill says universities could have a DEI office if it's necessary for federal grants or accreditation.
Those kinds of carve-outs are very limiting. There are other programs that are swept under DEI prohibitions in general.
Edgar Saldivar with the ACLU of Texas says regardless of any exceptions, the bill could have a chilling effect on students who need to report or want to discuss racism, discrimination, and harassment. Dr. Ben Carson, the former U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, says such policies put the color of someone's skin at the forefront of hiring.
The problem with the DEI is that it divides people. And it picks and chooses, who the winners are and who the losers are. That's exactly the kind of thing we want to get away from.
He even came to the Texas Capitol to testify in support of the bill, saying there's no reason for DEI offices.
There was a time when maybe that would have been appropriate. That was a long time ago.
The governor and lieutenant governor support this legislation. If it makes it to the governor's desk, it would go into effect during the 2023-2024 academic year. For Capitol Tonight, I'm Charlotte Scott.
Joining us now to discuss this further is Republican Representative Carl Tepper, who's been leading efforts in the House to ban DEI offices. Representative Tepper, welcome to the program. Nice to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, Karina. Good to see you, too.
Republicans like yourself have said that DEI offices have had a chilling effect on speech. I mean, why do you think this is necessary, banning them? What examples are there of that?
Yeah, they have been amazingly toxic. We've actually compiled a file of things that we've seen and heard from these offices of DEI. They seem to be leaning very heavily on sort of reverse discrimination. The hatred of white people, which they're calling white supremacy. And I think that's inappropriate. It's causing further divisions in our society, in our colleges, and I think it just needs to be stopped.
What about the opposite spectrum and the opposite side of that? I mean, opponents say DEI offices are about creating a level playing field, that this will hurt students and minority students in particular, and potentially in hiring as well.
Yeah, I think they're hiding behind those nice thoughts, but that hasn't been the practice that we've seen. Now, maybe they do something good here or there, but overall, we've seen nothing but division, inequity, and indoctrination. These offices need to go. The people who manage and the administrators of these offices need to head for greener pastures, because this pasture here in Texas is not the one for them.
Are you on board? I know that we're still kind of seeing what all the changes that have been made to the Senate version of this bill, but are you on board with the changes that we're looking at, couching the language a bit with allowing schools to implement such programs if they need to, or if they need to apply for federal grants, and if it passes kind of that muster?
Yeah, we haven't seen the actual language just yet. We've been off to a lot of other bills, hundreds of them actually. But I understand we've always had provisions in there for federal guidelines for grants, scholarships, and other funding. And so any massaging that they need to do to the bill to ensure that Texas gets its right share of higher education funding, I'm sure we can make adjustments and make sure that the bill doesn't harm our universities.
We know that there are a lot of diverse backgrounds and diverse student populations at these universities throughout Texas. I mean, how do you ensure that that continues given a ban on such kind of offices and training and various things like that?
Well, from what we've seen, it's a misconception that these offices are having any effect on diversity in Texas. But diversity in our higher education is growing where traditionally disadvantaged groups or minority groups are growing in population. So I would argue that I could snap my fingers tomorrow and these offices of DEI would disappear and have zero effect on the increasing amount of diversity in our colleges. And I want to be clear, we embrace those diversities. We want a more diverse student body. We love everyone from every background, but we don't need offices pushing an agenda that has nothing really to do with diversity. It has more to do with political and ideological thought and pushing those agendas.
I know there are a lot of opinions on both sides of this issue. Representative Carl Tepper will continue to watch these bills as they move forward. Thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thanks for having me. Have a great week.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. For more refreshing stories about your community, click the subscribe button over here. You can also download our Spectrum News app and tune in to Channel 55 on Dish and DirecTV to get live news coverage, weather updates every 10 minutes, and more. We'll see you then.